Are atheists mean poopy heads to the religious, or are we just reporting reality as it actually seems to be? That's something that I don't think we'll ever agree on with the religious because, as we know, they just don't care. Point out that they don't care and they just run away. Or they get mad. A lot of them just get mad. Yes, we do. No, you don't. If you did, you'd act better. They never think. They never consider. They just run and complain. And somehow that's not a particularly intelligent strategy, is it? We're back with Magnified on the ongoing whine fest of the religious, complaining that everybody's out to get them because they're a bunch of delusional morons without a clue in the world. That's not really much of a surprise, is it? Yet, how often do we see this? They are living in their own little fantasy lands where reality does not intrude, and when they're told just how crazy they are, they have to scream and run around and cry and kick their feet like little children because, nah. But anyway, let's get back to the action, no matter how dumb it all is.
You know what else lacks belief in God? Trees, rocks, a piece of bread, buttered on both sides, lightly toasted, cheese in between, maybe pepper jack.
Yeah, maybe the fat guy shouldn't be drooling over food in the middle of his video. Just saying. But, you know something? That's absolutely right. In some sense, those things are all atheists too. They lack belief in gods and everything else. So what? Because the religious tend to think this is a slam dunk, and they're surprised when I usually agree with them. The difference comes in because I have the ability to evaluate claims, and rocks and trees do not. However, I have no problem being lumped in with them in a general category. Rocks and trees can't be Christians either. Big deal.
And this isn't even a joke. Aaron Ra, famed atheist, actually said that rocks are atheists because they do not believe God exists.
So what? Because I'm sure he isn't going to explain why this is a problem. Rocks are also leprechaunist because they don't believe leprechauns exist. Big deal. This is not the gotcha that you want to think that it is. It's simply the reality. It's the same reason why atheism is the default state. Absolutely nobody pops out of the womb believing in a god. That's something they have to be indoctrinated into. The natural state of humanity is atheist. Deal with it. It can't be anything else. The religious are not happy about that part, so they try to make fun of it. But that doesn't stop it from being true in the larger sense. So what?
It's not that they believe God doesn't exist. It's that they don't believe that God does exist.
And that's a really simple difference that the religious have a problem getting through their heads. I don't believe that leprechauns don't exist. I just don't believe that they do. I have seen no convincing evidence that would lead me to accept the factual existence of any leprechauns. It's a basic skeptical position. I examine your claims, I find them ludicrously lacking, I don't believe it. What's the problem? Well, the problem is they don't actually care about the evaluation part. They just believe on faith and fifis, and it doesn't matter just how silly the idea actually is or how poorly supported the whole thing might be, so long as they feel good believing it. It's just gotta be true, right? But there's a massive epistemic difference between the way they evaluate claims and the way that we do. The problem is all on their side. They just can't accept it, and so they try to make fun of it, while just making themselves look stupid along the way. If that's what you want to do, sure, I guess, go ahead. You're hurting no one's credibility but your own. And you people don't need any help in that because you already have no credibility at all.
Not much difference, but enough for them to keep saying, nuh-uh. But if they're wrong and new atheists are actually making a claim, what do we do with this?
Nothing, since we're not. They're just really desperate to get off the hot seat. We see this all the time. Well, you can't prove me wrong, so I must be right. Sorry, that's not how this works. You are right if and only if you can demonstrate that you are right. You're the one who has to bring the evidence. The burden of proof is entirely on your shoulders, and if I was making claims about atheism, it would be on mine as well. I'm just not. And that bothers you because you don't want to be constantly on the defensive. So you refuse to accept the reality that atheism isn't making any positive claims. Maybe if you actually had some corroboratory evidence on your side and weren't running on pure blind faith all the time, your side wouldn't look so stupid. Think about it. I mean, just think for once. It really doesn't hurt.
Think about it this way. If I called a friend right now and said, I believe I'm being filmed on camera right now, she could say,
I don't believe you.
No, you don't understand. There's a camera in front of me and a whole team of media people. I mean, we've got a script, and I heard them say action.
Well, I'm not seeing any evidence you're bringing up. I lack belief in the fact that you're being filmed right now.
Well, what evidence do you have that I'm not being filmed right now?
I'm not saying you're not being filmed. I'm saying I lack belief that you're being filmed.
How can you be that close to understanding and still be this dumb? This is exactly what we are saying. Now, the case of being filmed is an entirely mundane claim because we know cameras exist. We know YouTube is a thing. People are filmed all the time. If he had made a claim that he was in a big budget Hollywood movie maybe with no evidence at all to back that up, that might be something else entirely. That would be a more extraordinary claim for which you definitely need evidence. But guess what? The existence of gods is also an extraordinary claim. I am not going to just accept it without seeing something demonstrably corroboratory and having something that I can examine without having to believe in it first. That's why I'm saying I don't buy it, because you have not presented that corroboratory evidence to me. It's just like I wouldn't buy somebody saying they were becoming a movie star out of the blue. How can this guy be so stupid? I just don't get it.
Either she's presenting her opinion, which seems to be willingly contrary to the evidence and doesn't really matter.
Wait a minute. How is that contrary to the evidence? In the example you gave, you had given her no evidence at all. You were just making a claim over the phone. What evidence was there for a film crew? You didn't put them on the phone. Just because it could be true, that doesn't mean that it is true. That's what we're saying. Just because there could conceivably be a God, that doesn't mean that we have been convinced that there actually is one. And the only way to convince us is to provide the evidence. It is now on your shoulders to provide additional information for us to evaluate rationally, and you people are really, really bad at that. We're not saying that you're wrong. We're saying that you haven't given us sufficient reason to think that you're right. Get to work. You have all of your work ahead of you. Stop whining on the internet and get to it.
Or she's making a claim. It is either true or not true that I'm being filmed at this moment.
And you have provided insufficient evidence to make that assessment rationally. It's not like you took a picture of the film crew and sent it to her. You are expecting her to take your word for it, and your word simply isn't sufficient in this case. I wouldn't believe you either, depending on the claim. I would need more than your say-so, and that goes for film crews and gods. I'm not necessarily calling you a liar. You might actually think you are being filmed. Maybe you think there's a vast conspiracy, invisible film crews just following you around, trying to document your life, but that doesn't make any of it true. What you believe doesn't matter. What you can demonstrate does. And I know I have to keep talking slower and slower and slower to these people because I really feel like I'm talking to a brick wall.
If I claim it's true and someone else claims to disbelieve my claim, then they are believing the opposite claim.
No, they're not. Holy crap, this can't be that hard. This guy is a complete idiot. I'm not saying that you're not being filmed. I'm saying I do not have enough evidence to believe that you are. Send me that evidence, and I might change my mind. I might not if the evidence is insufficient, but this is your opportunity to further justify your claim with demonstrable evidence, and when it comes to gods, you people aren't even trying. You people don't even make believe that you have evidence. You just make claim after claim after claim after claim, and that's not good enough. You have to be able to do better. I mean, do something. Stop making fools of yourselves.
There isn't a middle ground on true-false questions, even if we don't know the answers ourselves.
Absolutely there is. I don't know. I don't know if the answer is yes. I don't know if the answer is no. I have not been convinced one way or the other. Thus, I am not making a claim. This guy is really pretty dumb, isn't he? I really don't get how these people can be this ignorant. They are trying to force people into something that works for them instead of what works for that individual. Anywhere I don't have enough evidence to rationally come to a conclusion, I don't know. Convince me. Show me how you rationally came to a conclusion so that I can attempt to do the same. Present the evidence that convinced you. This is where the religious have problems because they never really rationally came to their conclusions to begin with. This is why they rely on faith, not facts. And I don't care about your faith. Nobody should care about your faith. Your faith is completely irrelevant. I care what evidence you can present that will demonstrate that you have the slightest clue what the hell you're talking about. And it's funny, but they never ever have that, do they?
Even though they've made it their mission to tear your faith down by tearing you down by using these two tactics, we've got to remember, we have one true enemy and he has blinded a lot of people.
Oh yes, appeal to your delusions. That'll help. See, the problem here is that they know they've got nothing. They have to know. Anyone who isn't drooling and spitting up all over themselves has to at least be that self-aware, right? Yet they are still emotionally attached to their beliefs, so they have to find a way to rationalize themselves out of the corner that they've put themselves into, and that's by playing the victim. These people are not victims. They're idiots. Nobody is out to destroy them. They're doing a pretty good job of that on their own. They are making themselves look dumb, and when we point out just how bad they look, they get upset because, I don't know, it was all supposed to be a big secret or something? They don't want the truth to get out. They don't want people saying the quiet parts out loud. But it is what most people these days are thinking. These people are idiots. Lots of people might not be brave enough to vocalize that fact, but it is a fact nonetheless. Let's stop playing these stupid games. Let's just tell the truth. There are people that believe things that are not rationally justifiable, like this dipshit. There is no real difference between the religious and, well, I was going to say flat earthers, but those are almost entirely the same thing. But between the religious and conspiracy theorists, let's say. This is all just a giant conspiracy. No, these people are nuts. They need help.
They will outright lie to build you into something you're not, just so they can tear you down.
No, that's you people. And in fact, I just had this happen to me where a theist started accusing me of having double standards. He couldn't provide any examples, of course. It just had to be true because he had his own double standards and he didn't like that being pointed out. I said something about people needing to stop being idiots online, and he immediately took that as a personal attack and started screaming. I didn't say you, I said people. That you took it as a personal attack says something really bad about you. But these people have a victimhood mentality, and damn it if they're not going to use it to their advantage if they can. When nobody took him up on his unfounded assertion, he just ran away. This is incredibly common. We're not attacking them, we're just calling a spade. But this is the problem that they have when they identify so closely with their religious beliefs that they can't tell the difference between a belief they hold and themselves. Stop being stupid. If you don't want to be called an idiot, maybe don't be one.
To these people who rage against you and seem angry at a God they claim they don't even believe exists, God has some choice words.
That's your claim, because everything you have is just a claim. You might really like the idea that your imaginary friend wrote your book, but you've got no evidence that it's true. That's why they only want to talk to each other, because they know they can't get this shit past us. This is why they look so stupid to everybody on the outside, and we're just pointing it out. They don't like that fact that they have no actual evidence for their claims. They just really like the idea. And, yeah, that is as stupid as it sounds. Don't be dumb. If you want respect, earn it. But they don't care about that, do they?
For although they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him, but they became futile in their thinking and their foolish hearts were darkened.
My book said a thing. So what? All of the stuff that works on the religious, it doesn't work outside of your little echo chamber, and they really don't know what else to do. This is a them problem, not an us problem. You can read to us all you want from your big book of multiple choice, but it means no more to us than if a Muslim read to you out of the Quran. You don't care, and you shouldn't, any more than we should care about your book, because you haven't demonstrated that your book is true. It hasn't been justified yet. Yet they don't care about justification for their own book, do they? They just embrace it for entirely emotional reasons. And we don't. We won't. We expect evidence, and they have none. They expect us to be the same kind of emotional fools that they are, and we're not going to be. So I think we're at an impasse. The answer to that impasse, I don't know. It's not rational, because all they do is whine about it. Big surprise there.
You need to know your stuff and be strong enough in your understanding of things to not let yourself get torn down.
You actually should be smarter than to believe it in the first place. That's the part that they don't want to hear. What he's really saying is that they need to be completely irrational and totally delusional and believe things without any kind of rational justification, because that's what appeals to them on an emotional, not an intellectual basis. You have to learn to embrace your insanity. How about not being insane in the first place? Have you ever considered that one? Of course not, because as we know, they don't care. They have no capacity to think or learn or grow on their own. They just really want to believe.
But you've still got to love them. Jesus Christ spoke some final words to his apostles saying, "If the world hates you, know that it hated me first." And his response to us is this: blessed are you, so bless them.
And the rationalizations just keep coming. Well, it's fine if everybody thinks I'm crazy, believing in our alien overlords, but once they choose to reveal themselves, they'll see. Yeah, except that never happens, does it? It's always someday, and that someday never comes. It's why the religious have been making predictions about the end of the world for centuries now, and we're still here. Yet, they don't learn from their failures, do they? They don't say, hey, we were wrong. Maybe we should reconsider this whole thing. No, they never do that. They just make excuses for them, and that's all Magnified is doing. There is no reason anybody should make you feel bad. Well, first off, we can't make you feel anything. If you feel bad, that's on you, not us. If you feel bad, then you probably realize on some level that we're right. You are a bunch of nutters. It's not a conspiracy, it's just reality, and you people don't care about reality one bit, do you? It's why religion is dying a well-deserved death, because more and more people are learning to see through your empty claims. Maybe you should figure that out too. Just saying. Anyhow, let me know down in the comments what you thought of all this. Have you run into self-professing victims in religion? Tell me your own humorous story if you have one. These people really are dumb, and the more they talk about it, the more they get out in public and say, here's what we believe, the less convincing any of it becomes. Maybe someday they'll figure it out for themselves. I don't know. I wouldn't be betting on it, but hey, wouldn't that be nice?